So Jake Paul is fighting soon. Don't know if anybody noticed. Don't know if anybody cares, to be honest. He fought Tommy Fury, lost, and he's kind of went downhill from there. Obviously, he wanted to be world champion. I'm not knocking him. We can all have a dream, as unrealistic as they are. And he wanted to become world champion. Don't think that's going to happen because he's fighting a man called Ryan Borland, who I would forgive you if you don't know who he is. I wouldn't call you a casual because he's actually very inactive. He's a 17-2 fighter coming out of the USA, is inactive according to BoxRec, and I can see why. Because if you look at his BoxRec, the last fight he had was Santiago Martin in 2022 in a casino. That was like 6 rounds. If we click on all Martin's profile, it was he had 4 wins, 7 losses. 5 of those losses were by KO, and not a very good run up to that fight either. He had he had 3 losses in the run up to the Ryan Borland fight. So bit of a weird and shaky record. So if you think 2022 is quite inactive, well, Ryan's last fight was in 2018. Fuck me, I was still in college at that time. He's fighting Jose Hernandez, who let's have a look at Hernandez's record quickly. 19-6. Let's have a look at old Jose Hernandez's record. His last fight was in 2022. He drew. Before that was in 2019. Lost. 2018. Lost to Ryan Borland, obviously. And then lost. Yeah, so if you're getting the picture by now, he's not fighting anybody very good, is he? No. So for a fighter that wants to become world champion, let's just have a look at his resume and you can tell me, do you think this is future world champion material? So he starts off in 2020. Well, we actually had a amateur fight. I believe that was against Deji, was it? On the Logan Paul KSI. I think that was, and they had head guards on. I think that was in Manchester. Anyway, so he fought Alison Gibb. Probably butchered that name, along with many others. And then he fought Nate Robinson, who was a basketball player. And we'll move on. Then he fought Ben Askren. So Ben Askren was an interesting fight for the obvious reason of Ben Askren was an actual fighter. The problem with Ben Askren was he had no stand-up game to actually talk about. He was more of a wrestler. And as we found out, he turned up, weighed in, looking like my dad. No offence to my dad. And just got a payday, basically. So, fair play. Then he goes and fights Tyron Woodley, who has, a much better stand-up game than Ben Askren, is a fighter. And I will give him credit, Ben Askren was a fighter, although really couldn't be fucked for that fight, let's be honest. Fights Tyron Woodley, I guess, let's have another fight because that was close. There was no definitive... I wouldn't really say it was close, I thought Jake Paul won, but there was no definitive ending. So they fight again, and Tyron Woodley gets sparked in round 6. So, to be fair, after that fight, I said, fair play, that was a good win in context of where Jake Paul is and who he is. Then he goes and fights Anderson Silva. So when this fight got announced, I was like, okay, fair play. Anderson Silva can actually throw hands. One of the greatest of all time, the GOAT of the middleweight division for many people. And he goes in and he drops Silva in round 8, doesn't finish him, but gets a UD decision. That was a good result against Anderson Silva. And then he goes and fights Tommy Fury. So I'm seeing gradual progression. He's beat Tyron Woodley, he's beat Anderson Silva, and now he's finally fighting a real boxer. Although I wouldn't really class Tommy Fury as a real boxer anymore. He is certainly on that misfits kind of influencer wavelength. He's not going to be doing, 10 rounds on a York or on a Queensberry card anymore for 10 grand. He's not doing that anymore. He's on misfits. He's going to be fighting people like Jake Paul or Logan Paul, these kind of people. Not going to be fighting proper boxers. And I don't think Tommy Fury would even win a British title, to be honest. He fights Tommy Fury in Saudi Arabia. Actually drops Tommy Fury in round 8. But to be honest, it wasn't a very close fight. I don't care what anyone says. Tommy Fury just put on a boxing display. That was it. He didn't really have to do much. So, loses to Tommy Fury, but I think we can all say fair play finally goes in with a boxer. So we're like, yes, right, here we go. We can take you seriously now, Jake. You're going to be taking on boxers now for the... No, we're not. Nate Diaz.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Retired UFC fighter. Yes, I guess you can say Nate Diaz has got hands or whatever. Retired old MMA fighter. This is what the main criticism has been labelled at Jake Paul. Is constant retired old fighters who are done and finished. And he fights them. So he fought Nate Diaz, back to normal, wins that. And now he fought a guy called Andre August, or August, I don't know, August, like the month, I guess. And he wins in round 1. Let's have a look at old Andre's record, shall we? 10-2. His first loss in his career was in 2018 against Eric Abraham. Eric Abraham is 7-16 and has basically lost his last 3 fights. Last fight coming in 2013 against Derek Miller Jr. So yeah, I mean, just obscure fighters, and he's beat them. But I guess because they're a boxer, that's fine. Andre Auguste was 37 years old, by the way, so old, basically out of the game. Yes, he is a boxer, and I know the Jake Paul fanatics are going to be like, well, he's a boxer, and you just criticised him because he's not fighting boxers. Well, if you're going to say that you're a future world champion and you're bigging yourself up as a true prospect to the division, then I expect a certain level of fighter that you're going up against, a certain standard. Someone to beat where I can say, right, this is your level, this is where you're at. I can see kind of where the trajectory is. There needs to be steps up, there needs to be levels that you go up, and these are very obscure and easy fights for Jake Paul. So there you go, lads. Next month, on the 2nd of March, the Problem Child versus Ryan Borland. Where will you be? Will you be watching it? No, you won't be. Right, goodbye.